another day. He came to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away.
You guys were all biking with us, and we went into that bar in Havasu, and he said, very rough bicycle guys. He says, "Which one of you guys is going to vote for Obama?" And I thought we were going to get lynched, but he could get away with it. Anyway, I think that is a very valuable trait to think that things are going to work out. It could be on any kind of level, but and Dad had that adventuresome spirit, and things did work out. I think Jenny and Mark both hit on the fact that he refused to admit that he was wrong, and combining that with the need to control his kids really ended up being extremely stressful. I also had that trait of thinking that I'm never wrong, and we butted heads all the time, and it was very stressful for our family. But that control did not end till I think Dad got quite older and realized he could not control his kids, and I think he finally realized that we're kind of on our path now, and there's not too much he can do about it. But it took maybe well into his 60s, I think, before he finally, at least to me, he no longer tried to control me. And I think our relationship got way better at that point. When I was 11, on my birthday, Dad pulled this huge gift wrap present in, and he said, "I just bought this for you, Benny, at the store." And I said, "Wow, this is going to be great." And he said, "I wouldn't get too excited because there's a broom in here." And I said, "There's no way that's going to be a broom." And it's me talking to, like, I know definitely. And like Mark would do, he would take advantage of my arrogance about that. And my dad said, "You want to bet?" And I said, "I'll bet you $5 there's not a broom in that box." He said, "Okay." And all my siblings were there. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I ripped open the paper, opened the box, and there was a broom. And I'm like in tears. And Dad said, "And pay up the $5. And I'm just, oh my. Anyway, he then brought out a present later after I paid him off the $5. But there's a sense, to me, it really showed both of us felt we were right a lot all the time. And it's a habit that I don't know if he would agree he had that trait. I know that I do, and it's not my favorite trait.
He had a little bit of a sadistic sense of humor, I think. Although it is kind of, I think it's kind of funny, even having heard all that. But
yeah.
So that just reminds me, I have to add this because this involves Vince and Dad also. Vince, you can't forget the time we got that BB gun. Remember the BB gun story?
Yeah, same thing.
So Dad brings home this BB gun for us, and we're out shooting birds and taking it up in the woods and shooting cans and glass bottles and stuff. And one night, Dad came home, and Vince and Dad sort of got into it, and Dad said, "I'm going to shoot. I can shoot you in the butt with this BB gun." And Vince said, "No, you won't. There's no way you're going to shoot me in the butt." And Dad says, "I'll bet you $1." And Vince says, "I'll take that." And Dad shoots him in the butt with the gun. And he makes Vince pay him $1. What's that all about?
Why'd you take that bet? That's a bet you can't win.
It was point blank range too. He was right. It hurt because he was right next to him pretty much. It was like 5 feet away.
It was in that house. So you gotta give Dad some credit because he always tried to keep things interesting. He would play the devil's advocate. He would be the buffoon. He would do outlandish things that would just like shock people. And so he was sort of he would hold court and just, you wake up in the morning and you wonder what's going on. And usually it's what's going on between Dad and Vince. You just want to be. It's like a show. every day. So the energy he brings in, and just the sheer delight of keeping things interesting. Now, why do you make a bet? People say, let's not make a bet. People will say, you want to make this interesting? That's what people say when they sometimes bet.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Dad's doing. He's making it interesting.
Right.
And it was always interesting, and things moved along, and he was restless, and he would sweep us up in it and take us with him. You know, I can't help but remember when we bought that house in Flagstaff, he wanted to put a basketball hoop and a basketball court in the backyard, and he had a plan. He put us to work on it, built the frame, put all the remember all those rocks we had to put in there? We had to dig those rocks up from, I mean, it was a lot of work. And then finally we got the cement company to come in and pour the cement. Eventually found a telephone pole somewhere and nailed a backboard to it and put a rim up. And eventually we put floodlights up there. Wow, that typifies what he would do for us. And for especially the way I looked at it, he was doing it for me more than anybody else. Because that was my identity, more, sports. So I mean, we had all kinds of projects. So I appreciate the interest and the care. He was trying to build us up. We didn't always like the projects he'd give us. In fact, we hated a lot of them, but I don't know, I got my work ethic, and then it wouldn't stop. He'd play with us, and he'd teach us. He taught me how to play deep. He taught me everything. So the interesting thing is there's a flip side. There's always a flip side. He got so overly invested in my being a good player that he was kind of a Nazi, you know? He can see the court, but he can only see the left side of the court. He couldn't see the right side because the rec room was blocking the right side. So he'd watch me play, and I wouldn't even know he was watching.
The phone, it occurred to me, he'd grown up just like me. My boy was just like me.